If you dream of your motorcycle, if your day isn't complete without some time in the saddle, if all you need is the open road and a full tank of gas, well, you've come to the right place, because this is Throttled, and it's starting now. Here's your host, Kevin McKinney.
Hello, and welcome back to Throttled, everybody. So glad you're not listening. Oh, you can hear me. All right. So welcome back to Throttle. So glad you guys are back with us, everybody on the live stream. Good to have you. Today it's just Larry and I, so we're going old school. OG host in the house. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good, Kev. I've had a good, relatively quiet week. Temperatures have gone up around here, so I'm not so crazy about that. But I'm feeling fine. How about you? How are you feeling, and how you doing?
Getting there. Still have moments where I'm coughing a lot and get out of breath very easily. But that's okay. It's part of the process that I'm just having to do right now. So, day by day, I'm a little better every day. And if I improve in the next 2 weeks, like I did this previous 2 weeks, I'll be feeling a lot better. So I already feel a ton better than I did. I don't nearly have the episodes that I was having. But I'm still very tired, very weak, all the time. And I think I'm still adjusting to all this medication they got me on too. So, headaches, that kind of stuff, but no biggie. Nothing I can't overcome. So this week, did you get any riding done?
As a matter of fact, I didn't. Sorry to say, there are a couple of afternoons that I was really hoping to get out, but one thing or another supervened, and I wasn't able to get on my bike. And then today I thought I'd go for a ride, but temperatures spiked over 100, so I decided not to do it. Sorry.
Oh, wah.
Call me a wimp.
Yeah.
But
well, I was actually able to get out yesterday.
Excellent.
So it rather uneventful. I am taking the Tenere on the trip to Tellico Plains, riding it up there. And as I mentioned last week, I have the what is it? The Michelin Adventure Wild? No, Anarchy Wild. Anarchy Wild's on the bike that I put on last year, and they've got a little bit of tread left, but on the highway, I'm not really pleased with their highway characteristics. And this is pretty much an on-road trip that we're doing. And I really liked the Mitas or Midas, however you guys want to say it, the EO7s that they put out. And they've updated those to the EO7 Pluses, but I've decided to stick with the EO7s. I ordered those Monday. Ordered them on Monday, and they came in on Thursday. And so it just so happened that literally a few blocks from where my daughters were having to cheer for their little football teams, Rodney's shop is just a few blocks away. So I put the tires in the back of the van and said, "Hey, when y'all get to about halftime of the game, give me a call and I'll start heading that way." And so I was able to head over to Rodney's and visit with him. It's been a while since I've been to the shop and chatted with Rodney. I don't know if I've been there since the pandemic started. It has been quite some time. So it's good to kind of see, they've moved some things around. They got a ton of bikes in there for sale and to be worked on. Definitely check them out. But, went by and some old friends of mine were there. A couple of guys, one of the guys I haven't seen in a while. Actually, he's the one that rode out. And I don't know if I talked about this on the show because it may have been pre-show. He rode out one day he used to have a Tenere, actually just sold it. And he helped me wire up my lights when I first got mine. And so, big shout out to Darren for that. And, got to catch up with him, what he's been up to. And, just spent a few minutes there chatting. My wife got there, we got the tires. And that was kind of the basis of it. Now, and then I just rode home in the van. So it was a nice ride over there. It felt really good to be back on the bike. I was so happy though. My heart was beating so fast that I had to actually pull over because I was getting short of breath just for being excited for being back on the bike. So it was a very nice feeling and everything. Let's see. Are people having problems seeing the video?
I'm not seeing the video, so I just wondered if
You're not seeing on the YouTube page?
Yeah.
It's there. I'm watching it too.
Okay, all right. I just refreshed it. There it is.
Yeah, okay, cool. Sorry, technical difficulties. But hey, it's our show. What would you expect? I mean, it's not like we're having TED issues. But, which I need to catch up with that guy too. But outside of that, interesting conversations have been happening. And I forgot Tom wasn't going to be here, but this week I had a friend of mine call me probably Monday night. And he's interested in a new GS. He's got his heart set on a HP GS, a new one.
Nice.
And trying to figure it out. I was just trying to help him through, and he's not the best with his money and some other things. And I've been mentoring him for a bit. And I was like, there's plenty of great used GSs out there. He was like, oh, but this, and so. But I was kind of helping him, and this is how this works. And I actually called Tom and got some advice from him on different things because I know he's had an adventure and he's got a GS now and several dealerships in the area. So, had a lot of good conversation. And the thing is in that conversation, it reminded me of, I really wouldn't mind a GS myself. My bike's just going to lose a little bit of value. The GS is most likely going to just get more expensive. We've got a lot of things planned here in the family that we're probably going to take a lot of the expenditure. So if I want to make a move, now's the time to do it. So I made some calls and got some numbers for myself for a bike, which honestly was very close to what my friend was looking for. And,
so you're going to steal your friend's bike?
Absolutely, if I could. But the problem comes down to, even after the trade-in of the Tenere, it's just too much money to do, and I can't afford to just buy it outright and sit on one. I don't have room for another motorcycle, and I don't want to have to sit on it and try to sell them because I know it takes a while. I mean, so that kind of happened. Talked about with the wife. She was like, I just don't think it's a good idea. We don't to spend that much out of pocket for it. And I'm not a big believer. I've said this before. I'm not a big believer in financing bikes. If it was my only mode of transportation, it'd be different, but it's not. And so why go incur more debt for what many, and my wife would be included in this, would be a toy. Excuse me. But
a very
yeah, I don't see it as a toy. I see it as stress relief and a necessity. And I think she understands that, but she's like, you already have one, so there are no flaws in her logic being a non-rider. I will say that.
Right.
So, but and again, guys, excuse me for my coughing and drinking, and you might hear me flitching around with some cough drops and stuff. I'm just trying to make it through the show. So with that said, when I was at Rodney's, and Darren's there, and we start talking about him selling his Tenere, which he did earlier this year. And he was like, "Well, I know a guy," and I was like, "Really?" And I mean, I got to admit, I wasn't getting that great of a trade-in value because you never do when you trade them in, you lose at least $2,000 to $4,000, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was like, "Hey, well, give your guy a call." I have not heard back, but
GSs that fell off the truck. Is that who Rodney knows?
I would no. No, this would be a guy it would be Darren knowing a guy that might want to buy my bike.
Oh, I see.
And I haven't heard back, and it's a shot in the dark. Probably not going to land. I'm trying to put it out of mind because, as my wife would tell you, once I get an idea, I obsess over it. So if you want a vacation planned, I'm good at that. If it's something to distract me from doing anything else, that'll happen too. So, but trying to put it out of mind. If it calls back, that's great. The other option that I'm looking at here is, and I'm having a hard time because part of my brain says I should also get rid of the KTM. The logic being that for a long time, I'm going to be on a pretty substantial amount of blood thinners, and I don't need to risk a head injury in the middle of the woods where it's going to take me an hour or so to get to a hospital. Yeah. But I love just prefer to be on the KTM most days. I'm a horrible dirt rider. You would think, as much as I talk about it and the much as I've gone to classes and the much as I've been out in the trails, I would be better by now, but I'm not. And I know that, and I'm okay with that because I still have a lot of fun. My adrenaline's going, heart's pumping, a good workout, and I always come home and feel like it was worth it. Other than my accident, I was having a blast that day, So, all that kind of pushed aside is, should I get rid of the KTM and then later try to buy something different? Well, now we come back to the same problem of the cash flow again. It's like, okay, well, if I put everything in that I have now, that doesn't change the fact that probably a year from now, I may not have the disposable income to even get a few $1,000, $250 dirt bike or something that's used and well taken care of, and it's just kind of like, what am I looking at? What are my options? And is it really worth stressing over it when I have a perfectly capable bike? One of the things I've wanted to do the last few years is take the Tenere off road a little bit more. But what I find is the way the bike is built, and I don't know the part of the bike it is, but there's a piece of plastic down by my left foot that keeps me from putting the pegs where my foot on the pegs where I want them. Unlike most people that go, okay, completely on the arch of your foot or completely on the balls of your foot, I move back and forth, but I can't get anywhere close to the balls of my foot on the left peg on the Tenere. And because that's a big, huge piece of plastic there. And I don't have huge pegs on them either. I just got the standard pegs that come with it, which that could solve part of the problem. Anyway, so, I'm maybe I just need to, hey, let's just stick to the road. Get the EO7s on there, and that'll handle any kind of fire road or stuff like that. As long as I don't get into something too muddy or too sandy, I'll be fine. And we'll just go with that and just see. Let's just take the next 6 months, which is horrible because this is off-road season. This is when I'm ready to gear up and get out there. The last several years, this has been when I'm heading out to the national forest and different trails every weekend. October is kind of that time of year for me. And so I hate it, and it is what it is, but we'll deal with it and everything. And I'm sure everybody would prefer me to quit rambling about it. So,
Well, I'll wait to hear news about your new GS.
well, don't hold. Um, uh, yeah. Don't hold it. Hold your breath on that. So Rodney just told me I could drop off the KTM and he'll keep it going for me in good shape and make sure it's well used on the back end or used looking. It's already used looking, Rodney. You know I don't wash my bikes for crap. I was like, Darren told me, he was like, well, I know you keep your bike clean, and I'm like, clean, and he was like, I know you keep your bike in well order, like maintenance wise. I was like, clean is not how you describe any of my bikes. Because I'd rather be riding them than washing them. And if I usually wash them, then I go ride them, and it looks the same. And I know for forks, hills, and stuff like that, I need to do a better job. I just don't. All right, so let's
just armor roll them to death, and they look great.
Yeah, well, you know what? I just I don't armor all the tires because
tires, seats. We're talking about that. Tires, seats, hand grips.
Yeah, I don't armor all because I don't want to get anything on the brake.
Great.
I've got bike spirits, and I'm very careful with the bike spirits. Like I actually lay like a towel over and behind things, so if I'm spraying that, I don't get that on the brakes at all. Because I like stopping, and maybe I'm being overly cautious and silly.
Vastly overrated.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you're wanting to go forward, So another thing that actually happened today is a couple weeks ago, we were talking about headsets that people use.
Yes, we were.
And Tom has since got the Pack Talk Black, which I believe you guys talked about in your show where I wasn't there.
We did.
And I have a Pack Talk Bolt. And on the way back from Rodney's, I got home, turned on the helmet, the little Senna thing, because I was going to mess with it just for a minute. And it told me battery, like low or something like that. I was like, I just charged this thing this morning, like for hours, and the battery went out. And I've been noticing it's been getting shorter, and shorter. And I started realizing that unit is ancient old. Like it was a first generation 20S that came out. Was it 4 or 5 years ago? 5 years ago. And so I ended up, because I charged it up and turned it on for 45 minutes and it died. And so I'm like, okay, I need a new one of these. And so I decided, and I really spent some time, and I've been looking for a while, and I was torn. I know I've been more of a Cardo, I guess you'd say fanboy lately, or preference the Cardos. And so I really tried to take an objective look at it and went back and forth between the Senna and the Cardos. And one of the things that I looked at was, okay, popularity, Senna wins in the South. Cardo wins if you're in the Northeast. It's pretty even, I think, out West. But
how do you know this? Have you seen figures or sales figures? Or
I found a website that showed sales of units from Cycle Gear.
Huh.
And that's what I used.
Okay.
So now, and then I started thinking, how often do I ride with somebody and actually talk to them? Once a year. And I've actually ridden with just as many people on the Cardo as I have just as many people on the Sennas. So then it comes down to, okay, which unit performs the best when it comes down to audio sound and wind noise to the people listening to me? How do I sound to them? And I've been told it sounds like any other Bluetooth headset, like if you're on the phone or something like that in your car. Sounds like anything you would put in your ears, like AirPods or the Samsung Buds. But then it was wind noise, and on my 20S, and I know and from watching videos, it seemed to be that the Senna still had a little bit to catch up on their wind noise reduction. And the Cardo was clear and picked up and didn't transmit the wind noise as much, but you might lose the first syllable as it detects, like, oh, he's speaking, kind of stuff. With all that in consideration and the price, I decided to pick up a second Pack Talk Bolt.
Whoa.
But I really went back and forth. I really did. The only reason one of the real main things that I really like about the Senna is the fact that it has the USB-C charger and connector. So that means it's going to charge probably half as fast. I mean, in half the time. And I think its battery is also bigger and better, and it lasts longer. So you get more battery life out of it. From what people are saying, is you might get a little bit more range distance connecting on it, but I'm going to ride with people so rarely that it doesn't really make sense.
Is there any way to pair Sennas with Cardos?
So you can. Okay, so here's the thing: Bluetooth to Bluetooth, yes, you can do both of them. If you stay on the Bluetooth channels on all of them, you can do that, because what you have to do is you pair one of the units to the other one as another phone. So each device can connect to two Bluetooth devices, or two phones, or one Bluetooth device, one phone, and one GPS. So you can pair to another device and pretend that other device is a phone, right? Now, if you're in the mesh network, only Cardo has Bluetooth integration, to where you create the Bluetooth, then you switch over to mesh, launch it up, and then you merge them. It's called Bluetooth bridging. The app, I might think, makes it pretty simple. The one time I've done it, I had to actually look it up, a video, because, and you can't do that at all on the Sennas as of this date, as of today, from what I saw out on the internet, because there was a lot of, you can do it here, you can't do it there. I was actually brought up in several different review videos that were published in the last month. So that's what I went off of. But again, how big of a deal is that? I don't know. So I ended up going with the Cardo, and I think I'm going to be okay with that, because I like the Cardo. I definitely love the speakers. I mean, I got 40 millimeter speakers, which I know the Sennas, I think now are 40 millimeter as well, but they're JBL, so they a little bit better range and stuff. So that's what we ended up doing there.
Oh, nice. Enjoy it.
I will. I already got it hooked up in the helmet. And I'm going to have to put something on the outside of the units, because my old one isn't JBL compliant. So I need to make sure I keep it on the ADV helmet and the new one on the other one. So I need to put a little dot on them or something to let me know which one's which. All right. Well, let's, I did get a message. I got several people. Okay. Speaking of the headset thing, I got several people commenting on, the headset thing, and got a lot of, Pro Sennas. I got a lot of Pro Cardos. I got a ton of, I don't put anything on my helmet. I don't need I don't need anything mounted, on my helmet. And then same talking about the phone holders on the bikes. A lot there of, I'll leave my phone in my pocket. A lot of those, don't want the distraction, don't need the distraction. It's not what I'm there for. And I completely understand that and respect that. I choose to put mine up there. One, because it's also my GPS. If I had a separate GPS, I might be there with you. Just external battery that I can plug it in and just drop it in there so it stays charged as I'm going and everything else. But I don't have the GPS, so I'll put it up on there as we're going.
Rodney never uses a headset.
Yeah, he does not. I can confirm with that. He doesn't use one. And I mean, I like having it for the fact that my wife can call me, or I mean, I've done conference calls on the things at this point with the pandemic and stuff, so they're kind of handy. But all right, so that's probably all I'm going to talk about. What feedback we got. I know I got some more emails that I've got to get to, and I just haven't. Honestly, I had the time. I'm trying to get some episodes published. And so we've been getting some of those out, catching up. Let's go ahead and talk about the news transition. I don't think there's anything else I need to discuss. Is there, Larry? Am I caught up on everything?
No, I think we can get to some of the stories from.
All right. So who's a fan of Chinese-made motorcycles? Please raise your hand. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying anything. Okay, cool. But CF Moto has been making a little bit of progress and making some more accepted bikes, I guess you would say, especially this article from Cycle World. And they're planning on raising the bar again. So this year it has raised the game again with the launch of the 700 CLX. And for 21, the company is taking another leap on the new 1250 TRG Tour that to me seems aimed at almost, it's a kind of a mix to me between a 1250 XR or R from BMW and a Goldwing. It's like those two merged together is what I see. Probably more the BMW than the Goldwing, but some of the body panelings and stylings I feel like are kind of Goldwing-esque. But it definitely has the stature of the BMW. Basically, I'm an adventure bike with no adventure stuff.
You crossed the GS with the Goldwing.
I don't think it's a GS. I think it's more is it the XS or XR? I think it's XR.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's got that touring pack on the back.
It does. I mean, it's got the big touring pack on the back, which is what made me think BMW. I'm not BMW, Goldwing. It does have saddlebags, but they're more of clamshell pannier styling, like a GV clamshell design on the back of it. I'll say this: it's not a horrible looking bike.
Not at all. It looks a little like a Multistrada too, actually.
Yeah, I can see that.
Upright seating position. Looks like it's, got good ground clearance.
So let's see. Let's read some of the article here. First making its debut earlier this year as a prototype targeting, police and security service motorcycles. The civilian version will go on sale the first half of 2021. And so, they get down to some of the more specifics of what makes it significant. The most powerful production bike yet to emerge from China cements the growing ties between CF Moto and KTM. And they've worked together for several years. With CF Moto building the KTM branded bikes for the Chinese market, and it's responsible for manufacturing some of the Austrian firm's smaller engines for sales worldwide. So they've got the expertise, and they've got the, what would you say, best practices that they are probably borrowing from KTM on how motorcycle quality is and building it into their bikes. Right. So that's good. I mean, that's good for them at least. Let's see. It's going to get its own large capacity V twin using a design based on the big LC8V that's powered KTM's most powerful motorcycle models over several generations. So how much is this partnership with CF Moto? I mean, is KTM own part of CF Moto? Or is it the other way around?
I don't know who owns whom, but as you mentioned, they do produce engines for some of the KTM bikes. I would be thinking that this bike may very well make an appearance in the European market.
Yeah, they're saying that the engine's going to peak at 140 horsepower, and it's going to just edge out the BMW's R1250 RT that makes 134 horsepower. And they're saying that the BMW is currently their most direct rival.
Yeah, the 1250. Yeah.
Yep. So interesting bike, interesting concept. I mean, we've got Brembo brakes, Bosch ABS systems. I mean, they're putting quality products, aftermarket bolt-ons, but quality products on it, you know. And this is after KTM is kind of, not KTM, BMW, you know, I think they've moved away from Brembo. I think they had Brembo brakes on a couple of their models, and now they're doing their own brakes that a lot of people say are even better than Brembo's. So it's going to be interesting to see how they compare once these two bikes go side by side and some specs. And I'm sure we'll see some, but this could be the first, you know, shot across the bow. Really, you know, they've been kind of playing in the waters, but now they're taking a true, I think, shot at BMW and seeing how they stack up against them. I expect BMW to win the initial volley for sure, but.
Well, the two things that I don't think are clear are what the pricing is going to be on the bike and what export markets it is intended for, or where they will be, selling it to. But I would expect that it's probably going to significantly undercut BMW's bikes in price, and may not have all of the bells and whistles in terms of the suspension, braking, and computerized stuff, traction control. But if you get a comfortable, luxurious touring bike with, by the way, JBL sound system, that is significantly undercuts the price of a GS, I think there would be a market for that.
I agree with you completely. I mean, if you come in with enough fringe perks to be like it has some niceties, has some creature comforts, but it may not have the fancy dancy BMW stuff. It may not have 30 different ride modes and stuff like that, but it'll have two, rain and normal. And that's all a lot of people care about anyway. And most people don't care about those rain modes. They just want one, and they never change it.
Well, I can see if you look at it comes with a big TFT display. They said the largest TFT you'll find in a motorcycle, and it is in sport mode. So clearly, it does have some, differing drive modes.
All right. Well, we will definitely have to keep this in kind of the back of our minds and bring it up next time we see another article on it to see how they compare. I'd like to see when they get out and do some ride reviews, and because they'll start comparing and contrasting right off the bat. So time will tell as we move forward. Now, another interesting article we've got is Aprilia. Aprilia, as you may know, makes motorcycles. And they have filed a patent that shows that they are setting up kind of some competition for the Yamaha Nikon, and are, I don't really think the Nikon's been that big of a seller. I've seen people get it, and they're like, it's a novelty. And not too long, they go and get something else. But they never say anything bad about it, but it's just not, I think, at the end of the day, what they really want long term. But I think, though, the concept that they're driving at is something that's going to become more popular, especially as we see more and more people moving towards lighter bikes as they age, and something more, what they may feel is comfortable. Having two front wheels, if they get the locking at stop and stuff like that, to where the bike will stand up on its own, and that way you could get on and off of it and be able to stabilize it and not have to hold the weight of the bike up. I think that will go a long way. So I think Aprilia getting into this market, and they're not really in the market because they make don't they make a... No, they don't make the Piaggio, because Piaggio makes the Piaggio.
Yeah. They made the Mana.
The Mana. Okay, that's what I was thinking of. It's not the first time that they've dove into this, but they're designing this motorcycle to directly compete with the Nikon from what all the specs of the blueprints are. I mean, it's very, very obvious that's what they're going for. So what do you think about this?
I think it's interesting. It seems like sort of a design that doesn't really have a big purpose. Everybody talks about, well, what do we need it for? And yet, the big motorcycle companies keep coming back to this. And so, I think it's interesting that of all manufacturers, Aprilia is looking into making a bike with this design. The speculation is that they would be using the Mana parts. Well, I think that's part of the design, is to use Mana parts from the headstock back. And the Mana did have an automatic clutch mechanism, so this would potentially be a bike that is an automatic transmission, which these bikes, I think, may have appeal for new riders or less experienced riders, depending on the dimensions of the front wheels. You may not even need a motorcycle license to ride them, which may or may not be a good thing. It can reduce the barrier to getting on a motorcycle, but on the other hand, these are motorcycles, and I think that it would be good to get motorcycle skills before actually riding one of these things, especially because this bike would have the Mana triple, which I think is about 850 cc. So it would be a significantly powerful bike, and so I wouldn't necessarily think somebody without any motorcycle experience would be a good candidate for this. Nonetheless, I think the appeal of these bikes is probably going to be towards newer riders or maybe older riders who are thinking about moving away from a two-wheel bike and onto something more stable. And so maybe in both categories, these bikes would have some appeal. And of course, the design, I think, does have a place in scooters. If you're using them for transportation in urban environments, carrying stuff, storage, riding in all sorts of weather, you're looking for bikes that are stable, to have traction, and so on. So bikes like this would have, I think, appeal, as they do in France.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think you're right. And now, one of the things that I think is important to point out, and I had to admit, I did take a mental break to read a comment or two. The fact that they're moving their suspensions to the inside of the wheels to make it a narrower thing, I do think that's going to be a stylistic benefit, because one of the complaints that everybody has is it's just so wide up front. It just feels, and once you start riding it, they say that kind of goes away, because honestly you should be looking forward, but the appearance of it is just this big, fat, wide, girthy thing. And, you're shaving off nearly a foot probably by the time you take all that in consideration. The spacing and the plastics and how everything kind of bulges out there. You take both sides into consideration, you may be shaving off nearly a foot. So it'd be interesting to see how that looks when the Aprilia starts getting photos taken of it. And then if Nikon or Yamaha, I guess, would ever swap over to being more centrally located.
Well, I think actually, I have to double check this, but I think that Yamaha does do that on the Tri-City. Their scooter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it does have the shocks on the inside.
Well, maybe the next version of the Nikon will do that as well.
That's what I would think too. Yeah, it does make the front end look so huge and cumbersome that anything that can be used to kind of slim down the profile would be, I think, a big selling point.
All right. So our last article that we're going to talk about is Benelli.
Benelli.
So why don't you take this one?
Well, in the spirit of what we were just talking about with CM Motorcycles, the Chinese manufacturer, Benelli is releasing some new models, and they're releasing a new 1200 GT Tour, for one thing. And I believe that this bike also is intended as potentially a police model bike. And if you look at the actual photo of the bike, it's a black and white bike, and it does have safety bars in front of the rear pannier. So it looks like a bike that would be intended for police market as well. But it's another big displacement luxury touring bike. And where is it going to end? So that's one of the things that Benelli is introducing that is kind of challenging, putting them into new markets and challenging other manufacturers that have heretofore possessed those markets. And Benelli has also announced adventure bikes, a line of mid-size adventure bikes, which I think look very appealing. So these are a couple of bikes that are designed for both. One is more of a road bike, and the other one is designed more as an off-road bike. They're mid-sized bikes. They have a all-new 499.6 cc parallel twin engine. So they produce mid-sized, muscle. They have a 6-speed transmission, so these are capable of taking you out on freeways and riding at freeway speeds. Has a steel tube trellis frame and all that kind of stuff. The road model has 17-inch cast aluminum wheels, and the off-road, the more off-roadish model has wire spoke wheels, a 19-inch up front and 17 in the rear. They have different tires as well. The off-road-ish version has 8.6 inches of ground clearance, and the on-road 7.5. So both of them have good ground clearance. And they have an over 5-gallon fuel capacity, so you can obviously pack in the miles on these bikes as well.
And that I find that funny because the article says they offer a generous 5.28 gallons, and I'm sitting here thinking, doesn't the BMW Adventure have 8 gallons? I mean, it's just like.
Yeah, these are smaller parallel twins, and they'll probably get much better fuel mileage.
I agreed there, but it's just it's generous here, and then over on the GS, granted, the fuel mileage went down when they went with the larger motor, but I just find it interesting how I still haven't figured out why the Adventure exists. on the BMWs. Separate conversation.
Yeah.
To me, the rally. I mean, I get why the Venture exists if I was doing like long tours, but it's like, well, that's your off-road bike. I'm like, but it's heavier. I'm like, okay, it's whatever. So,
Well, at any
separate,
rate,
complete, sorry, little ADD moment there, but you were saying about the Benelli.
well, what I was saying is that they do offer windscreen handguards, and they offer luggage that designed for these bikes. They look like aluminum panniers and top case, matched, of course, which adds an extra 1,000 to the price. But that's typical for those for adding cases to a bike. Now here's the thing. List prices are 5,999 for the road version, and 6,399 for the more off-roadish version. So even if you add in the top cases, this is, I think, a very interesting price point for this much motorcycle. And they are becoming available at SSR Benelli motorcycle dealers now.
So, one, and Rodney, you might be able to answer this question for me. Do you know of any SSR dealers around you there, Larry? Because I can't think of any around me.
I actually went to their website and looked it up, and there is a dealer near me in Vallejo. They don't currently list this bike or even Benelli bikes on their website, but they are an SSR Motorsport dealer.
It'd be interesting to see how this does. I honestly don't think it's going to go too well. How much does it weigh? Does it have the weight in here?
It's about 470, I think. 470 pounds wet.
It's a shame that it's not in the 850 range, because I think they have a decent setup to go against the F850s. For an adventure bike, 499 cc's, that's pretty low,
Well, the isn't the Honda their kind of sport adventure bike, a 500cc bike? For our market.
Well, I'm not thinking sport adventure. I'm thinking off-road adventure, which is using the same engine, right?
Yes.
I mean, I like I kind of like the look of the bike. You and I were talking before the show. It seemed to be a mashup of a Tiger, a BMW. There's aspects of a lot of different bikes that you see. I just don't know if, and I guess it really comes down to low end torque, right? I mean, once you're off road, 1250 cc's is a little overkill, because it depends on how much torque you're putting out to grunt and tractor through things. So,
Right.
This is where I wish the show was a lot bigger and I got invited to like test ride stuff, because I would love to take this like on a test ride tour, to ride it on the road a little bit, ride it off road, see how it does, what the characteristics are, because this is a bike that I can see being just enough and plentiful for that weight. I guess it just depends on the kind of terrain you're talking about. If you're just doing fire roads, this would be fine. This would be absolutely fine. But if you do, but let's be fair. 90% of people who have a 1250 and a KTM 1290 don't use it like they're supposed to. Like they're built to be made. And maybe this bike is more of we're building the bike as people are using them, and it's going to be fine. I don't know. I'd be interested to see how this pans out. The problem is I don't think you're going to get an objective view from most motorcycle reviewers, because they're comparing it to a 1250, which is, you could do all this other stuff. I was like, yeah, but the everyday rider's not a pro rider. I mean, even a journalist rider should be a very talented rider, right? It's not Joe Schmo riding.
I don't think I would compare it to 1250. I think I would be comparing it to
850 or
maybe the Tigers, and maybe also things like the Himalayan.
I mean, really, you're looking at comparing it to the Yamaha 700, KTM 790.
Yeah, that's right.
But see, to me, it's not built to be compared to those. They got 21-inch front rims. They're made to go into the dirt. And that's why I'm just like, well, what do you compare it to? Compare it to an 850? I was like, well, yeah, it's got 350 cc's on you. I know it's not exactly 850, but I just like.
But they're also heavier bikes, so
850 is not that much heavier, is it?
Well, I think when I read reviews, I always read between the lines, so you can kind of tell from the way it's written how enthusiastic the reviewer is about the bike. And I would expect that these bikes, given their price point and the features that they do seem to offer, that you will be seeing ride reports appearing fairly soon about this bike, and I think that'll be quite interesting.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes,
Larry is going to read the reviews and tell them what they really mean.
Use them thoroughly.
And he will read between the lines and translate.
Especially.
All right. Well, I think we're getting to paddock time.
We are.
Yeah. So you think you can do it in about 10 minutes, or you need more than that?
Yeah, well, around 10 minutes will be.
10 minutes. All right, cool. So we're gonna have a see how he does. See, can we do a 10-minute paddock? I gotta
time me, people.
Time you. All right, hold on. I'm actually gonna pull out a stopwatch here on my phone, and we're actually gonna do that just to see, because he'll forget and he'll go way over.
All right, on your mark. Okay, well, here we go. So American Flat Track first. It's been an interesting couple of weeks. I did manage to watch the Williams Grove half miles, and I saw Brian Bauman continuing to dominate the half mile tracks over Jared Meese. Then I didn't get to actually watch the races yet, but I did read the reports on the race, and Breyer dominated the Dallas half miles this weekend as well. He pulled out in the beginning, and he led the race just about the whole way, and he is smooth and confident, and his bike seems to just be tuned just right. So the story is that Breyer is so far ahead in the points. He has passed Meese, and he is dominating the races. Interestingly, Sammy Halbert has shown himself to be a very consistent rider in these races and competitive, and he came up second in both of the Dallas half miles. And even more interesting, a plucky Robert Pearson, who's a relatively new rider to the Super Twin class, beat out Jared Meese in both races for third place. So Meese did not place on the podium in either of these races, and this enables Brian Bauman to take over the lead for the championship points.
What do you think is going on with Meese?
That's a very good question. Well, one of the things is I think that Meese is better in the longer races, and most of the races this year seem to have been half miles.
Okay.
So that's one factor. But when Meese was dominant last year and the year before, I think he was able to win both races. Bauman has been maturing and becoming a much better rider. Interesting because he's tall, and generally the taller riders seem to have more problems. Especially with their wind profile, I think. But he seems, and that may be why in the longer races, Mies may do better. He just may be able to get up a little faster in the straights. But at any rate, whatever the reason, I haven't read that. That's my own speculation, folks. But whatever the reason, Mies has just not been able to pull it out in the half miles this year. So, and next weekend it's half miles in Atlanta. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bauman dominated there as well. And speaking of dominating, Indiana again is dominating this year completely. You nary hear a word about Harley, and let alone any of the other manufacturers. So in the Super Twin class, now in the production class, which I don't follow, I think Harley has been somewhat more prominent, but and you do hear tell of Yamaha's also placing, but not in the Super Twin class. So that's disappointing. I had hoped that this year would be a better year for Harley, and based on what's happening at the mother company, I'm not optimistic that next year is going to show much more promise for Harley. So on to Atlanta for next weekend. We'll see what happens. And as far as MotoGP, there's news and there is events. Rossi, it has been reported that Rossi has settled a deal, and he will be riding next in the 2021 season for Petronas Yamaha, which is no surprise. That's what the negotiations were all about. But Rossi has confirmed it, and he will be riding at least one more season. And if I had my guess, I would say that would be his last season. I suspect that he's going to hang it up after next season, unless he ends up doing really, really well. But you heard it here, folks. I think the next year will be Rossi's last. This weekend was the MotoGP at Catalunya in Spain, and this was quite interesting. After qualifying, it turned out to be an all Yamaha front line with Franco Morbidelli, who's been hot lately, and Quartararo and Rossi in the front row. Vinales was in the second row in sixth place. He had been the winner last weekend, and then we were looking for him to have a good race this weekend as well. Once the race got going, it was a good start for the front three Yamahas and for Jack Miller on the Ducati in the Pramac Ducati in the second row. Dovizioso, who had bad qualifying, started off I think in 17th place, ended up in the first corner being knocked down by Zarco, who had been thrown off by a severe wobble that Petrucci experienced under acceleration going into the first turn. So Petrucci's bike twitched, and he either got in front of Zarco or maybe even touched Zarco, who put on the brakes and lost his front end and went into Dovizioso. And Petrucci managed to stay up and in the race, but Zarco and Dovizioso were down and out. This was bad news for Dovizioso because it kind of really knocked him out of the running for the overall championship points. Morbidelli took the lead and held the lead for the first half of the race, and he was looking good. But Quartararo was able to pass him with 15 laps to go in the race. Morbidelli, and by the second half of the race, the tire wear was becoming a very significant factor. It was a relatively cool day, actually. I think the track temperature the air temperature was around 65 degrees or something like that. So everybody was running on soft tires, and they were still having trouble keeping the tires warm enough. And once the tire wear started to be a factor, and the temperature continued to sort of get cooler, it was a real problem keeping the tires warm enough to maintain their traction. And so Morbidelli nearly went down in one turn. He looked he was barely able to save himself and keep himself upright, and but he did, and he did lose a place. So Morbidelli dropped to third, and Valentino was able to pass him into second. Quartararo took first place and was leading, but he was also starting to suffer from tire wear. Meanwhile, the Suzukis were getting stronger. So Johan Mir was able to move past Morbidelli and to go into second place. And Rins was able to move up to third. The two Suzuki riders were really competitive. And Rossi, unfortunately, went down around this time in the race. He lost his front end and was disappointingly out. He had been running second at the time, and it looked like he would get at least a podium finish and possibly might even have challenged Quartararo for the lead. But disappointingly, that did not happen. Vinales had a terrible start from sixth place and ended up dropping like to 15th. And so he was only able to move up a few places in the race and lost points in the overall championship. So Quartararo kept the lead. He was able to cross the finish line for the win. Mir came in second and Rins third. So Suzuki, for the first time in a long time, finished. Both of their team bikes finished on the podium. And then Franco Morbidelli and Jack Miller were able to hang on for fourth and fifth. And as far as the overall standings, Dovizioso has a long ways to go now. He seems pretty much out of the championship running, as is Rossi, who had two DNFs in his last two races. Quartararo now has moved again to the top of the standings, as he was early in the season. And Muir is running a close second with him, with Vinales falling to third, 18 points down. So another surprising finish this week. And next race is in 2 weeks at Le Mans, France.
All right. And I'm going to give you credit for being under 10 minutes because I did start the stopwatch a little bit late. So I got you at 9:38. So not bad. Good job. And that's a lot of information. You did very well, my friend.
Thanks.
All right. So I was going to start wrapping us up. But before we start doing that, we always have to give a big shout out to our Throttle crew members. Thank you, everybody on this list that you online can see, and everybody listening at home. Look down your show notes. You'll be able to see all the people that help keep the show going and on the air. Your contributions are extremely, extremely valuable, and we really appreciate everything you do to keep us going. If you would like to join the Throttle crew, best way to do that is go to our website, throttledpodcast.com, click on the Patreon logo at the bottom of the first page, and you can get signed up that way. Anything you can helps. We appreciate every dollar. It really goes a long way. And the more we have, hopefully we can start traveling again next year. And I'm hoping, I'd love to have enough saved up to where we can actually hit some of the shows or something like that. At least send one of us to go. We'll have to see how that plays out.
I'll go.
Yeah. Trust me, if there's one in Vegas, I'm going to probably ask you to swing by, just on your way home.
Right.
Swing by one day. And but also we are on Twitter at Throttled Show, Instagram Throttled Show, Facebook Throttled Podcast. And we look forward to seeing you guys online. We do broadcast live Sundays at 7:30 Central, 5:30 Pacific. And on Twitter and Facebook, about 15 minutes before the show starts, we get the live feed up and running and let people start just kind of filling in the queue there. And we try to start pretty promptly at 9:30. Between 9:30 and 9:32, we try to start the show every time. It just depends if I clicked all the buttons and pressed all the things. sometimes it's a rough start. But look forward to seeing you online, hopefully. Outside, we would like to have some emails and feedback. I really appreciate all the kind messages that I got from people who watched the live stream last week, and look forward to conversing with you more. I've been trying to respond to a lot of people just back and forth. You can reach us feedback@throttledpodcast.com. You can send us a direct message on Facebook or Twitter. You can go to the website, throttledpodcast.com, click on the contact tab. That'll send it to the same email box as the email address. So we look forward to hearing your feedback. Write us in if you're interested in us reviewing a bike, if you're interested in our thoughts on something, let us know. I mean, we look forward to your ideas and comments and try to do our best to integrate those into the shows as much as possible, especially when we have topic discussions. Let's see here. I think that kind of wraps up everything, doesn't it? I feel like I forgot something, but I can't remember what it is.
Well, I want to thank our chat group for a very entertaining chat this week.
Yes, so it's very good. As always, they always do a fantastic job. And so, Larry, I guess I'll let you. Oh, I know what it was. So next week there will be a show. The week after that, there will not. Tom and I will be riding with the Loud Pipes guys, and kind of their get-together annual meetup kind of thing. I just want to go ride, and I've been wanting to go to the mountains for a while, and I'm just like, hey, here's an opportunity. May actually stay an extra day. The wife and I were talking about today. May actually stay an extra day and go do some things with the wife that Monday. And so maybe, depending on what time things wrap up on Sunday, we may have other plans. We may go up a day early. I don't know. May drive up halfway on the day early. I don't really know what the plan is. We're still in flux there, but we're going to be up in that area. And I've seen the routes that the guys put together. One day it's like a 200-mile ride. The next day it's like 160, all mountain roads. They've got where we're going to eat picked out. They do a great job of planning these things out.
Sounds like fun. Yeah.
Fly out, man. Rent your bike. You could join us.
Wouldn't I love that?
We may not get to California, go back to California for another 2 weeks, but
wouldn't I hate that?
So, give you a reason to ride. All right. So you want to sign out?
Sure. Well, again, thanks to everybody in the chat. It's been a great having you guys this week. And thanks to you, Kevin, for getting the show on time. And I am going to do my best to get out on the road this week. And above all, I'm going to ride my own ride. How about you, Kevin?
Well, I appreciate everybody's well wishes. Like I said earlier, it's meant a lot, and everybody reaching out and asking what they could do, if there's something they could do to help out, and that's just wonderful. You guys are a fantastic community. It just means a lot. Outside of that, I'm depending on when I get my bike back. Rodney's got to do a little bit of work to it. But I'm sure he'll get it done in due time. There's no big rush. I'll try to work out a day to go get that, and maybe next Saturday or so I can get out for a ride. Sunday, I don't think we have anything in the family going on, so that'd be kind of nice. Secretly, I want to get out on the KTM. I really want to get out on the KTM.
Well, that's out of the question because Rodney says I can take his GS and he'll take your KTM. Whatever works.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, Rodney is very generous when it comes to, well, if I sold my bike, I could do this. And Hill's like, well, I'll get you a bike. Don't you worry about it. It's like, okay. So he's very generous when it comes to helping his friends out. He's a good man.
Yeah.
So anyway, but if you get out there and ride, everybody, ride safe. We will talk to you all next week. And till then, have a great day. See ya. And everybody in the live stream, as always, you guys are fantastic. I was actually thinking, if I do this ride here, and And if I manage to like save an extra week of vacation for next year, because see, I've got like 3 weeks of vacation I have to use by December 31st, but I can carry a week over. I'm taking 4 days at Christmas right now, just 1 day here, so that's 1 week, and then I'm sorry, 4 days at Thanksgiving, 1 day this Friday, and I need to sprinkle in another week. I may just take Christmas week off. I like to sprinkle in a week when I don't have kids, to be honest with you. Just to have time, just me by myself, quiet, at night. I mean, my wife will be here, but I don't have to worry about keeping little things alive. Once that's over, I thought about, if this COVID thing goes away, there's some rides I want to start clicking off the list. I'll get the mountains initial list done, check, and I think it's done. I won't ever go back, but it's just check mark there. And then there's other places I want to go and ride.
There's a lot of places to ride.
Yosemite, Mount Zion, and a lot of them are like dirt areas.
Glacier was a fantastic ride.
Yeah, I mean Glacier is actually one of them. I would really like to start. I don't know. I guess in LA, work my way up the coast of California, all the way up the coast, get into Canada, kind of do what you did a few years ago.
That was a fantastic ride.
And then just
back down.
Instead of just, when you turn back down, instead of cutting back towards California, just keep coming down.
Yeah, no, we came down through Wyoming and Montana and Utah and Colorado. That was a great ride.
Yeah, but where you hung a big right, I'd want to hang a big left. But that I don't think I'll have that much time. And I don't think my wife will have that much patience for me to take that trip right now. So I may have to hold on to that, but we'll see. Anyway, guys on the live stream, I enjoyed it. Everybody on YouTube, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. We will see you all next week. And until then, you guys ride safe. Bye, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Yeah, versus 300.